So for the past basically over 30 plus hours, I've been spending my time in Duet Night Abyss. So this is going to be a bit of a summarized video of my impression toward the game and see whether or not it's actually potentially going to be a worth it game for you to actually consider whenever the official release, as this is currently the current beta. And while of course I'm going to be avoiding story spoilers, I'm not going to be discussing too much about it. However, from my experience, the story has been pretty interesting. I've mentioned that you can actually choose between either male or female, which is usual. However, Duet Night Abyss, depending on which character you choose, you are going to have a slightly different starting point. Honestly, I don't know how it's going to be as the game moves forward. Will there be any, like same route of the two character crossing path, or it is still going to be a two different kind of story, which is honestly something that I've been excited about, as there is kind of like a replayability kind of element. And obviously if the story becomes very good, I will be very much invested into the game, as usually I play many gacha games expecting the story to be decently good if I ever want to continue investing a lot of my times into that game. Now during the stories I've mentioned before, there is kind of like a morality system where depending on which answers you choose, it will increase a bit of kind of like a morality points for you, and later on it might affect your story progressions. I think this comes down a lot to the side quests, where it may take this a lot more seriously other than the main story quest, because while of course if it's very hard for you to progress if you don't get the right morality in the main story, it's going to be a bit tough for many of us to actually go ahead and choose different type of answer first. When it comes to graphic wise, for me personally, graphic is generally a very important element whenever I play a game, especially nowadays when gacha games graphic is actually improving quite significantly. Now for my impression on graphics in Duet Night Abyss, I think overall I'd say it's okay. It's not like too graphics demanding and the graphics over the top or anything. It feels like other gacha game. However, it is not bad by any means. There are going to be regions where it feels really good to be exploring around. However, of course, I would always hope that the dev will improve the graphics to become even better so that the game looks a lot more beautiful graphic wise. But overall, at the current point, I think the graphic is rather fine, which leads us to kind of like the explorations, where obviously the graphic is one part of the exploration. But as I've mentioned before, the exploration in Duet Night Abyss is slightly different, where your character have access to kind of like the helix jump, which actually helps you to traverse quite a lot. Obviously, there are different characters where they have access to different style of traveling, where like Psyche, where she can actually go ahead and fly around. You have like Truthful, which you can hop onto her lovely cute pig and then she travel around that way. And obviously there are other characters that will potentially have different ways for them to traverse in the world as well, which definitely would keep exploration a lot more interesting. Onto the characters themselves, I've already made a whole dedicated videos, having my reaction onto the characters. Now my overall impressions of the characters is that characters in Duet Night Abyss has really decent design. Obviously, I wouldn't say entirely unique as compared to all the other gacha games that I have played, but are they bad design? Absolutely not. I really like some of the character design already, and hopefully whenever the official game actually comes, I'll be able to get my hands onto them. Now the special thing about the characters in Duet Night Abyss also is where it comes with the cosmetic options. So yes, whenever you have a favorite character, you don't really have to wait for the dev to actually create an outfit for you to actually have a different kind of outfit for those characters. But in Duet Night Abyss, you have access to cosmetic. You can actually have a slightly different outfit being given to your specific character, but more than that, you can change up their color coatings as well. Obviously, there are going to be a bit of grinding through the game required, but I'm pretty sure it is going to be pretty much free to play friendly. So overall, I'm very excited to see different dyeing options whenever I have more time to play around with in the official game. Combat wise, as we have seen, the game have access to both range and normal melee weapons. Character don't need to be stuck in a specific melee weapon themselves, but the difference between the character is going to be coming down to their skills and their ultimate. And other than that, you can technically spam your skills as much as you would like, even if it's your ultimate as well, as long as you still have your sanity, or kind of like the energy system in Duet Night Abyss. Combat has been absolutely fun so far. There are going to be a lot of effects going on in the screen because team system in Duet Night Abyss works so that it's generally only going to be focusing on one main character that you choose, and the other characters are going to be side by side you, fighting along with you. So technically there are going to be many characters on the field together, actually doing a lot of different kind of damage, not to mention there are going to be group situations where there are tons and tons of enemies. So yeah, it can get hectic at times, but it does feel good to have a slight bit of difference when it comes to the combat. Now music is also one of the great parts that I find in Duet Night Abyss. I find myself listening to the music quite a lot in the game. Sometimes it feels as if I'm actually playing Nier Automata because some of the music feels a lot like it, but overall, as you have been listening to the background music of these videos, there have been soundtracks that I really do enjoy a lot, and I'm pretty sure you guys would appreciate it as well. And having good music in the game is very important, especially to me, as I'm someone who listen to the music in the game quite a lot to get me either hyped up, and whenever I'm doing exploration, I feel good when I'm doing so. The more interesting thing about DNA also is that the gacha have basically no 50-50. Yes, there are going to be 50-50 on the subsequent copies of them, but the limited first pull as well as the limited weapons are going to be guaranteed, which is rather, I'd say, free-to-play friendly for many of the players themselves. And talking about free-to-play friendlies, you can actually go ahead and craft the 5-star options as well, and generally it's only going to take you to farm in the game and try to unlock them later on, which is really great. Now another thing that I'd like to talk about is rather like the daily farming, or basically how you spend your energy or stamina daily in order to farm for your characters. Right, so basically in closed beta 2, what you do is you will participate in various activity and set commission depending on the stage, and these stages will actually have certain objectives for you to actually complete. Like for example, you have to defeat 40 enemies. Mediation, where you destroy a tower and then after that you evacuate. There's also going to kind of like a defense tower that you have to do, and currently you have to wait for a hold up to 3 minutes to protect the NPC and so forth. So technically, from what I can see, the gameplay in which you are required to do the farming is generally pretty fun. However, it does come with a concern of if this is going to be daily, it's going to be a bit of a grind because there are quite a bit of time involved in order for you to complete this. So I find the way they are doing this rather interesting because the part for you to complete the mission is pretty fun. If it's going to be daily, hopefully the devs are going to be looking more into it and they adjust accordingly. In which, at the point of me making this video, there is already a bit of a second closed beta test review where, interestingly, the devs have already made some potential improvement into the game after listening to the player experience in the closed beta 2. So I'm going to be going through a bit here, and some of the improvement is rather interesting. Where first of all, you have like a one-click button of the Helix Leap, which usually you have to do kind of like a 2-button press, where now it's going to be one button that's going to be keybind so that you can use this a lot faster. Auto pickup radius will be expanded by 1.5%. This range would be really decent because it does affect you collecting your sanity and regenerating your sanity level so that you can spam your skill more. More grappling point across traveling areas so that you can have better explorations. Some other gameplay optimization, and I think this is one of the more important one, where again the commissions are technically going to be less grindy. As I've mentioned before, in the closed beta it was pretty grindy. Now the devs are actually making adjustment to it, and it's rather really nice. And there are some other optimizations, enhancements as well, which I'm not going to be going through everything. There'll be a link in my description. You can actually actively look into this, but overall, as we can see, the devs are actually listening to the player base release, we've went through closed beta too, and I think that demonstrating that they are listening to us is a really good thing, and hopefully making it into the official game so that Duet Night Abyss will become even better. So from my overall experience is that whenever the game officially comes, I would definitely give this another go, because currently I have been enjoying the game a lot in the closed beta. There are a lot of unique mechanic being introduced into the game that doesn't always happen in other gacha games. So I think that's everything I have to say about Duet Night Abyss closed beta 2 for the time being. If you have found the video interesting and want to know more information about Duet Night Abyss, there'll be a link down below where you can go ahead and pre-register for the game. Doing so, and whenever we hit a certain milestone, we will have very nice rewards. I hope that the video have been enjoyable for you. With that, I wish you a super day, and I'll catch you on my next video.